We're gonna go back into doing some proper plugin code stuff. I think this is going to be a fun video to do. We're finally getting into making custom scenes. So the idea I had was to make a custom achievements scene, and it's going to be very basic to begin with, but I think it would be quite nice to start off with something really simple just to get you learning making custom scenes, and anything else that goes along with that. We'll keep it quite compact so it's a bit easier to pick up and learn. But then in future videos, I will add on to the achievements scene, um, and just add more functionality and teach more things as we go, really. So here we go. Achievement, yeah, maybe just achievements.js. So as always, I never remember all of the plugin metadata at the top here. So I will just copy from another one, paste down at the top, and then start putting in my own details here. Achievements, .js or something like that. Actually, yeah, the description would be custom scene for displaying achievements. That should be good enough. Okay, so to begin with, we do that self-invoking function. So all this does is runs the code without having to actually call a function or anything. And so where do we start? Where do we start when we're trying to make our own scene? Well, it doesn't hurt to try and plan it out before you get stuck in. So some ideas that I had was we want a custom scene. That's straightforward enough. Is there or are there any scenes that does close to what we want? Because then you can just base your scene off of that, but I'm not sure if there is. We might just go for a scene base. And then what kind of windows will you need inside of your scene? Well, for our basic version, I think all we want is an item list window. And this is stuff that you'll pick up as you start developing and as you start just looking through the code. You'll start figuring out there may be certain windows that do most of what you want, and you can base your window off of that. You can even build a subclass window that inherits from a certain window, and you will start to figure this out just as you try things out, really. So I think we'll be using an item list window, and that's probably it. So I'm not sure, because I'm using item list, maybe I would want to start with a scene item. All right, so how do we start building our scene then? Let's just take inspiration from somewhere else. I'm going to take let's take this top bit here. So the scene item down to create, and we will paste that in. Get rid of that code there. Okay. So what we've got is a scene that we have the constructor function, so we can call it like new scene item like that. Of course, we'll change the name, but that's the purpose of having this. And then we have we create the we create this class based off of the parent class, and then we set the constructor. All good. And we have anything you want to do when the scene initializes, the code will go in here. And then when the scene is created, you will create all your objects or your windows, sorry, in here. Okay, so let's just start changing the name here of the scene. Scene achievements. So let's just see if we already have something that would display on the screen. So the way that you call scene, I can't remember if we've covered this or not. Scene manager, and I believe it's dot push, and then the name of your scene. So do you remember that scene stack? I'm sure we've spoken about the scene stack before. Scene manager, and then you push your scene onto the stack. And let's just see. Let's see if we've got enough for something to happen. It's not defined. Oh, would be good if we actually add the plugin to our project. Achievements. Okay. Now let's see. Not defined. Okay, to fix this error, we need to bind scene achievements to the window. I think we saw this in the custom window. Yeah, in the custom window video, I think we had to do something similar. So you're essentially just creating a property on the window, which is the whole game, and then making that equal to our constructor function. So now when the game tries to hit scene achievements, it finds this and it will load up your scene. Okay, there we go. So this is our custom scene with no windows. There's no windows. This doesn't do anything when it's clicked because we haven't told it to do anything yet. So we need to create some windows. So I know that we want to make an item window, and I believe there is already code to do this. So let's have a look. Create item window. Okay, there's a lot here, so let's read through it and see what we actually think we need. Well, we need some kind of rect to tell the window what size to be. So this is good. And then we create a property on our scene called item window, and we set that equal to a new item list, and we pass in the rect, which is just the size we want it to be. And then set help window. I think this is good. Because we do want a help window, we will have descriptions for our achievements, just so people know what they got the achievement for. And then we also, this is the set handler. So this is, what do you want to do when OK is pressed? And OK is the Z key, I believe, or a left click. So what do we want to do when OK is pressed when this window is active? We want to run this function. So there's a lot of syntax here that maybe we haven't seen. So this is where I would say your intuition starts kicking in the more you work with this stuff. You might not know exactly what this does, but you can kind of guess that this dot on item OK, let's have a look. There is a method called on item OK. So you can guess that when they press OK on this window, it runs the on item OK method. And this bind and then this, what this does is ensures that when this method is called, this will refer to the scene that you're binding to. So inside on item OK, regardless of where it ends up getting called, I'm not sure how I'm not sure how many different places this could be called from, but for whatever reason, you're binding this scene to this method so that wherever it gets called from, if you use the key term this, it will refer to scene item here. So yeah, we will be taking these, and then of course we add the item window to this scene. The bit at the bottom, no, we don't need. This is to do with category windows and stuff. Category window. So let's just take this bit out, up to add window. We'll copy that, and we will create our own function here. This dot create item window scene achievements dot prototype dot create item window, and we'll paste that code in there. So this needs a method item window rect. So let's just head back, and we will take that out as well. So there we go. We have item window rect. So in here, we're just going to run it and see how the window looks. And then afterwards, we can tweak this to look how we want it to. So now, when our scene is created, we will run the create item window method. It will get the dimensions and the placement for the window, and then it will create the property, create the window, set some handlers here. Oh yeah, these don't exist yet, so I think that it would crash if we run it now. So when we press OK, I guess we don't want to do anything because we're already on. We're going to activate the item window as soon as we enter our scene. So we'll get rid of that. We don't need it. And when we cancel, we don't actually want to run any methods. What we want to do is just leave the scene. And there's already a way of doing that given to us. So I will just scroll a little bit and see. Yep, here it is here. So this is saying when the category window, when you press cancel on the category window, we will pop the scene, which if you remember from when we did arrays, pop means knock the last one off the end. So this essentially says when we press cancel on the category window, get rid of this scene and return to the one before it, which would be either the map, I guess, if we're activating it from the map. So we want to just copy this little line here, or this little part of code, pop scene, and we will replace on item cancel with pop scene. So now, when we press cancel, which is either right click or X on the item window, it will leave the scene. So this is more window work, I guess, but in a context of a scene. So let's have a look and see if we've done enough to see something happen. Cannot read property Y of undefined. So let's see. Achievements. Oh yeah, the way you read this, by the way, if you have an error, you can check the top line for the last method that was run before it broke. And it tells you it was on this page and on line 53. So we go to achievements, line 53. We're setting up the item window rect and it's talking about category window, which of course we don't have. We don't have a category window, so this breaks the game. So we'll just say 0. Let's just make the y 0, which means it starts at the top of the screen. And there we go, we've got our item window. At the moment, it doesn't do anything. If you press confirm, it doesn't do anything because we took that line out. But if we press cancel, well, it still doesn't do anything. Why? That brings us to an important part about Windows. This item window has to be active before any of these handlers matter. If the window is unselected, if the window is inactive, then the handlers don't matter. So what we want to do here, maybe at the end, we can say this item window dot activate. So again, when we create the item window, we are activating it. And there we go. Press X to go back, and we leave the scene. So how come we don't see any highlight here? How come there's no item being highlighted? Well, the next important part is select. We need to actually select one of the points, or we need to select an index in the item window. So if we say select 0, because arrays always begin at 0, and essentially this is going to be an array of achievements. So you select 0 and it will select the first one. And there we go. Now we've got a little cursor on the screen. It can't go anywhere because I believe there aren't any items in the list yet. We haven't created an item list. Interestingly, I wonder if we were to add actual items, if this would suddenly show something. Let's give it a test. I can't remember if we talk to... Okay, the chest gives us money, the old man gives us items. Okay, so we have some items now. Let's check. Still nothing, but that's fine, that's fine. I think that's because we took the category window out. Okay, so we've got a window being displayed in our custom scene. But nothing is being displayed yet, and I believe the item window would show items if we had a category window. So that means we're going to have to alter the item list in some way, but I think that's maybe a bit too... We're getting ahead of ourselves. We've got nothing to display in the window yet. So let's do a bit of setup. The way I'm going to handle achievements is very basic to begin with. I'm just going to create a couple of switches. When they're off, you don't have the achievement. When they're on, you do have the achievement. We'll make some better ones in another video, but that's how we're going to start off, because the main point of this video is just to get you into making scenes, seeing how it interacts with creating windows. Yeah, so let's say achieve 1, achieve 2, achieve 3, and achieve 4. We'll just say 4 for now. There's no point going crazy with them. So all we were doing there is giving them names. And we're not actually doing anything with them yet. We'll need some way of setting up our achievements. So I think Well, I think I'll just make an object and start filling it with data. So we can say const achievements equal var achievements equals achievements or empty object. So we've seen this before. We're saying we want to create an achievements variable, but just on the off chance this already exists, we will set achievements equal to achievements. But if achievements doesn't exist yet, then we'll create an empty object. Now, I guess it's probably fine just to do that if you prefer, but I think that's just in there in case there is some overlap. Maybe you're overwriting achievements by mistake. I'm not sure. Maybe there's a better reason why we do this and I'm not aware of it. So what we can do, we can say achievements dot I would like to make another property on this rather than adding it directly into this achievements. So I'm going to do achievement data, and then we'll do the same thing. And then inside achievement data is where we will start putting our data, I guess. So how should we do this? Doesn't like this? You know, maybe instead of that, it should be an array. So then we can say, okay, let's make a function here called initialize. And what we'll do is when we call initialize, that's when we'll set up all the data in here. So achievements, achievement data. We should probably have an idea of how many achievements we're going to use. So we're just going to use a function here to pass back how many achievements we have. And then we'll use this number to initialize our achievement data before adding anything into it. Do we want to do it this way? I'm not sure. Okay. So this achievement data is an array, so we can push a value into it. So if we want to set this up as all blanks to begin with, we can use one of our for loops. I is less than achievements dot number of achievements. So we've seen this before. So this will loop from 0 to 4, and then we can push null into the array like that. So when we initialize, it just creates an array with 4 nulls inside. And then I guess we can just start doing achievement data. 0 is going to be some kind of data here. So what data do we need? We'll make it an object. Say name. Then we can have a name. Switch ID, and then we have a number. So I guess instead of pushing null, we can push in one of these empty. Okay. Yeah. I'll just finish setting a couple of these up. Great achieve. We'll set switch ID 1. Okay, here we go. This is maybe the way that I want to do it because it keeps it kind of it's it's pretty nice to look at if it's set out this way. So these are my 4 achievements. We're just going to say it's great, it's super, it's ultra, it's mega. So switch ID 1, 2, 3, and 4. So when switch 1 is true, this will be active. When switch 2 is true, this will be active, and so on. So just to go over the syntax here, just to make sure I'm explaining it well. We're using a for loop, and we are just initializing the data that's in here. We're adding 4 objects into the array with a name and a switch ID, and we're defaulting the name to nothing, and we're defaulting the switch ID to -1. This is just to make sure the switch ID isn't anything. If you set a number to sort of an initial value, it's probably going to be 0. That might be fine, but I'd like to explicitly say -1, which means we have definitely not set this. So yeah, this is just me coming up with some way of setting up our achievement data. So where do we call this initialize? We can probably do that in the scene setup. So when the scene is first initialized, how would we figure out if this data has been added or not? Well, we can check achievement data, and if it's an empty array, that might tell us we've not ran initialize yet, and then we can call it. So when we first create our scene, we will do something like if achievement data length is equal to 0, initialize has not been executed. So then we can run achievements initialize. So when we create our scene, we check if the achievement data is empty, and if it is empty, we'll run initialize, and then that creates all of our achievements for us. So let's just run the code. I don't think we'll see anything different yet. We just want to make sure there's no errors. Like this. Cannot set property name of undefined. Let's see where it's coming from. Achievements line 30. So undefined means it believes achievement data 0 is nothing. Let's just do some console logs so we can debug if anything is there. Okay, so it believes achievement data at this point is still nothing. Ah, I've just spotted the problem. Number of achievements is a method, and I am not calling the method, I am simply giving it a reference to the method. In order to call it, remember it needs the parentheses here. So if this is like that, it is running I is equal to 0, while I is less than some kind of function, not actually a number. So make sure that's in there. Now we'll run it again. Okay, so now we have the 4 items. Our achievements have been set up. The window still loads, so that's good, or the scene still loads. Oh, interesting. I'm only updating 0, which hopefully you caught that. We need to actually change which achievement we are updating here. There we go. One final check. It's always handy to check as you go. You can quickly fix bugs as you find them instead of waiting till you get to the end and then you've got about 400 to fix. There we go. So we got them set up nicely. So now we have something worth showing the player. We can go back and decide what to do with our window now. I think I will just take window item list and build upon it. I will make a subclass of item list and then change what I need. So let's take window item list. So just that top bit again. I tend to take the little comment at the top, the constructor function, creating the object, the constructor, and the initialize. These are all usually handy, so I'll take that to begin with. Pop it in underneath your scene. Now, I want to have window item list as my parent class, so I will put it in here, the object we are creating from, and then the other ones I will rename to something else. So let's call this window achievements. Keep it simple. We can get rid of the comment here. So we can get rid of this because we are going to call window item list initialize instead of window selectable, and this will handle those little 2 bits underneath for us. We don't need it there. So what's the problem with the window achievements then? What's the problem we need to fix? Well, it doesn't display the data we want it to right now. And that's because of a few reasons. If we scroll down, we can try and figure out. Includes is an important one. This is essentially you pass in some kind of item, and this decides whether or not it should be included in the list. So that's probably required. Let's paste that over and then keep checking. Is enabled. Yeah, I think we want that. So is enabled, it's up to this to decide whether or not the item is drawn with a fuzzy gray color, meaning it's not enabled, or whether it's displayed in its proper color, which means it is enabled. So we'll probably want to tamper with this a bit. Make item list is absolutely essential. This is how we decide what gets displayed in our list. Kind of self-explanatory, so we'll take that. Draw item might be required. We'll see. We'll see. We may as well copy it over for now. Hmm, Update help. I think we do want that. I think we probably do want that. So let's take that as well, and we'll paste it in here. Okay, so we need to remember to update. We are not working with item list. We are working with window achievements now. So we'll alt click to set the cursor, and then window achievements for all of them. Okay, so to begin with, we'll just start with make item list. We'll try and get our achievements displaying in our scenes window, and then afterwards, once the problems pop up, we can take a look at how to fix them. So, what does make item list do? There is a property called underscore data, and this just holds everything we want to display in our window. And essentially, at the moment, it just says go to the game party global variable, grab all of the items, as in items, weapons, and armors, and then filter them, which means take some of them out based on if the item should be included. So that's the this includes method up here. And then we pass in the item, and then it decides if it should be included or not, and then that is your data property. And then at the end, it just says if nothing is in the list, we will add a null to the list. So what does that little bit at the end do there? That says if we open up this window currently has nothing in it, but we still want to see something to show that even though there's nothing in here, there's still a cursor. So that's what this does. It says if there is nothing in the window, just add a null. And then this little line here is our null. Okay, so we need to make sure our achievement scene is grabbing the correct window. So we'll say window achievements rect. We let's have a look. So where we make the item list, let's just try and get something else displaying here so we can see the window actually works. So at the moment it's filtering out and deciding if an item should be included. We're just going to say that this is true. So if we have any items in the parties list, it should be displayed in the window. So I need to talk to this old man. Oh, yeah, okay. So it looks like nothing's being drawn to the window, which probably means we're not actually running this. Yeah, yeah. So in the window item lists refresh method, remember refresh is generally where you want to update the content on the screen. It runs this make item list. So we're probably just not refreshing the window. So when we create the window, we can just refresh it here. So now when we create the window, we refresh what should be displayed in the window, and then we display it. Okay, there we go, there we go. So our item list now has something in it. And as you can see, we can't click on them because we removed the on confirm binding, remember? But this here is enabled, the potion is enabled, and the weapons are disabled, which means they are shown as grey text, which is, we want to remove that entirely. So let's check out is enabled, if we know for a fact that we want all of the achievements to be shown in the regular writing, we can say true. So let's double check that that's done what we think it does. And we'll get some items, we'll talk here. Okay, and now none of them are set to disabled, none of them are grayed out. This is what we want. So something that we saw there, the page was split in two. And maybe some people want this, maybe that's what you want for your achievements, you can fit a lot of them on the screen that way. But I would like it to be one single column in my item window. So how would we do that? Let's have a look at window item list. Anything here? Oh, max calls, max columns, and it says 2, so we can pretty much guess that this is how we change the number of columns in our window. So we'll copy this, dump it somewhere into here, make sure it's our window and not the other one, and then we'll replace this with 1, and then test it to make sure it's doing what we want it to do. There we go, one single item per column. Alright, well, one column. Okay, so it's getting closer, right? Um, well, there's no help window still. So let's have a look here. This does have a create help window item, or method, sorry. We could try copying and pasting this and see if it will just work. So we'll say this create help window. Okay, and works just like that. And that's because the help window, I believe, is quite deeply rooted in the code. This create help window method, we could trace it back, and I'm sure it would go quite far. It might even go to scene base or something like that. So a lot of different scenes can just use create help window, and it will create a help window. So in the create item window, no, this is fine for now. Okay, so how far along are we? Well, it still doesn't display what we want, the window. It still it displays the items. So we need to try and fix this. So what do we want it to display? It needs to hold all of the achievements. So it'll be something to do with this. I wonder if we can simply pass in an array of items, but the items are booleans. So we either say it's true if they have got the achievement, or it's false if they haven't got the achievement. So we have a way of looping through the achievements like this. Get boolean array for achievements. So you can come up with maybe a better name for this, but essentially we're going to use a separate method here that will loop through our number of achievements, and instead of pushing into the array, we're just going to check if this switch ID is true or false. So let's say const achieved data is equal to achievement data, and then we'll pass in I. So what are we doing here? Well, I is taking on the value of 0, 1, 2, and 3, because that goes up to the number of achievements, 4. And then we're looking inside the array we've created here and just catching the achieved data one at a time. So to get the switch value, let's have a look. Here are the list of globals we have access to, and we have game switches here and game variables here. So let's copy this and see if there's anything in the code that uses it. I'm thinking probably in objects. Let's copy in. Okay, so just doing a simple Control and F to find, I can see that we're using game switches.value and then some kind of switch ID. So this is how you get the value from a game switch, and it's going to be true or false. So we can use that here. Instead of using this common event switch ID, how do we get our switch ID? We'll say const switch ID is equal to achieved data dot switch ID, because this is how we get the switch ID. So I hope it's clicking here. We are creating a variable here which holds the data of one of these lines. So it's not just the dot name, it's not just the switch ID, it holds the name and switch ID, and then we access that with some dot notation. So achieved data dot switch ID, and we're storing that in its own variable just so we don't have to have this long line getting scattered around the code. All we're looking at is this very simple and very readable line. So we're passing that switch ID in here, and we want to catch that value as well. So we'll say switch value is equal to gameswitches.value switch ID. So now we just have to do a little check. Well, I guess we don't need to do a check. We already have the switch value. So how do we get this back out of here, the Boolean array? Well, we need a Boolean array to work with. So we'll say const Boolean array is equal to an empty array. And at the end, we will return Boolean array. And then in the middle, we will add to this array. Boolean array dot push switch value. So let's look at it logically again. I always like going through it logically. We create an empty array, and then we loop through each of the achievements that we've set up, 0, 1, 2, and 3, and we get the data in a more readable array, a more readable variable, and then we get the switch ID from that data, and then we check the value of that switch, and then we just add the value of that switch into the array, and then we return the array. So this will be something like false, false, true, false, or true, 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 and then we just pass it back. So the reason I've done this is we can now use this as our data in our list. So let's see, when we make the item list, we don't want the party's items. We want the Boolean array. I don't think we need this anymore. So yeah, every time we run make item list, it will set the data equal to the array. So now, draw item, let's see. Yeah, draw item is going to look kind of funky at the moment. I think it might break, but it's always worth just running the code, see how far along you are. Okay, we've got four objects for our achievements, but it doesn't display anything, which I guess leads me to that problem of what does draw item do? So this first line, when it says item, it just means item in the list. It doesn't specifically mean which game item, like weapon or potion, etc. But to be clear, we could change this if it helps. If it helps keep it in your mind that this is an achievement, or it's an achievement boolean. This item here is true or false whether or not we have this achievement, and we pass in an index. So instead of, yeah, we don't really need a lot of this, but we don't want to get rid of it yet because it might give us some helpful hints as to how we can draw on the screen, etc. So we say we've got some data to display on the screen. All we have right now is a name. So let's say achieve data is equal to achievements.achievement data. And then how do we know which achievement we're looking at here? Well, it's given us this handy index value. So index here is which row are we on, essentially. If we check here, if we are here, we are on index 1, because if you think of the array, it starts with 0, 1, 2, and 3, which matches up with our achievements here, 0, 1, 2, and 3. So now, when we run this, when we get this piece of code here that says get the achievement data for 0, 1, 2, and 3, well, now we have access to achievedata.name. So we just need to figure out how to draw this onto the screen. Well, the item list gives us a handy method here, get, or it's item line rect for this index. So what this does is gives us exactly the positioning of this. So if we want to draw something onto the screen, we can use the rect x and the rect width and the rect y, and it will line it up perfectly with the line we want to draw on. So I'll show you how that works. Let's use that handy comment feature. If you highlight a whole bunch of code and then press Control and /, it just comments and uncomments the whole selection. It's really handy. So we don't want this to run right now, but we don't want to get rid of it right now. So let's see. How do we draw text again? As a reminder, we just come here and do draw text. And here we go. I'll just rip this line, paste it in here. So the first part is the text we want to draw. So we'll use achievedata.name. The second part is the X position. So that's how far along the horizontal do you want to start drawing this word? Well, we can use the rect.x, rect.y, and rect.width. And we don't want any of this stuff. And just to be funky, maybe we can have center here. So we'll start drawing the word in the middle rather than over here or over here. So let's see, yeah, let's check. Let's just check if this is doing it. We'll restart the game with F5. Here we go, great achieve, super achieve, ultra achieve, mega achieve. Awesome. But now, well, how do we know which ones we have and which we don't have? because it's just drawing them all with the same sort of color and everything. Well, one way we could do this is item here is the value. This item is holding true or false whether we have this achievement. So yeah, let's change the name to something a bit more sensible. This could be has achievement. So this is going to be true if it has the if you have the achievement, or it'll be false if you don't have the achievement. So one thing we can do is do one of our if statements and say if has achievement, draw the text. So we only run the code in the middle to draw the text if they have the achievement. So let's give it a look. Okay, it's drawing none again because we don't have any. So let's just clarify and make sure that this is working how we expect it to. If we talk to this person, we will control the switch. Achievement 1, we will turn that on. You know what? I will just make 4 of these people. 1 for each achievement. And let's check. Let's make sure our code is actually working. So it displays nothing. Let's talk to the first person. Oh, interesting. Let's see. What's the problem? Replace of undefined. So the top line is usually an indication of where it broke, but this isn't something we've changed, so that makes it interesting to me. Oh, I see. So it's the window help is breaking, and it could be because we are not passing a real item to it. We're simply trying to pass one of our things. See, here it is. Set help window item. We're passing in an item, but the item is true or false, not an actual item. So for now, we can probably just comment this out, and that might fix the problem. Okay, we'll click on it. There we go. So the first one has been unlocked. We've got great achievement. Let's get the third one. There we go. So we'll get the other two just to fill it out. We've got all the achievements now. So that's one way of doing it. Another way we could do it, instead of doing this, we can say something like this: change paint opacity, and then it checks if the item is enabled. Well, what we can do is change the paint opacity, and we can, instead of this enabled, we can say has achievement. So this will say, if this is true, the paint opacity will be 1, and it will show with the clear white writing. But I believe if this is false, it will show with the more see-through grayed out writing. But if we do use this, we make sure that we set the paint opacity back to 1 afterwards. Otherwise, you can get some dodgy other parts of your window may be painted with the wrong color when you don't mean it to. So we'll check. There we go. So it is still drawing the text, but it's grayed out. And then if we grab the second one, there we go. We have the second one, but the others are still grayed out. So there's different ways we can do this. So just add a little bit of polish. You know what? We can probably get rid of this stuff now. So what I want to do, let's add a little something else to this. Underneath, we can say hidden and this could be true or false. Let's just pop it in here, pop it in here. So we'll say that the last two, they are hidden. So what's the point of this? Well, down here now, when we're drawing the item, maybe we can say if achieved data dot hidden. So this means if the data should be hidden, run this code. Else, run this code. So if the data is hidden, the logic's not quite there yet. So let's just do it and we'll see why. If it's hidden, we don't write any text to the screen. If it's not hidden, then we will write the text to the screen. So what's the problem with this? Well, what if it's hidden but you have the achievement? Well, this doesn't care at the moment. It's just saying if it's hidden, don't draw anything. So we need to alter this a bit. We will say if the data is hidden and has the achievement negative, then we'll return. So here's a bit of something new. What is this doing? So we put the exclamation in front of a Boolean value or a comparison, and what it does is negates it. So we're saying if they have the achievement but not. So if they don't have the achievement, this essentially just flips. It flips a Boolean. So let's write it down at the bottom. If you have a value that is true, and then you put that at the front, that equals false. If you have a value that's false, but you put that in front of it, it makes it true. So it's just like a little toggle thing. So what we're doing is, if the achievement is hidden and we haven't unlocked it yet, return, and we know from the previous video, return just says don't perform any code after this point. Sometimes we want to return a value. Sometimes we can just return nothing and it just stops the rest of the code from running. So yeah, logically it says if the achievement is hidden and they have not unlocked it, we won't draw it to the screen. But if they have the achievement, this return will not run. It will just paint to the screen. And also, if this is false, if it's not hidden, then it will ignore this and move on as well. So just let's make sure it actually works the way we think it does. The last two are hidden, so we can't see them. Let's grab one from the start. Okay, so we have this one, we don't have that one, and these two are still hidden. So if we grab one at the end, there we go, it's now showing and it is enabled because we have unlocked it. So we're getting there. We're definitely getting there. I think there's two little things I want to do before wrapping this up. This might be a bit of a long video. I hope people are enjoying it though. It's quite a cool topic, making your own scene. So the top of this window, it cuts in to this little button at the top. Now usually I like to remove this entirely, but if some people are making games for mobile or something like that, then they might want to keep it. So our window cuts into that. So this is to do with the position of the item window. We don't want it to be that, we don't want it to start from 0 on the Y. We want it to start a little bit down so it's underneath this button. So we need to find out, there is a thing called main area bottom, and I believe there's something like main area top. I'm just going to guess this, but really what you probably want to do is actually check the rest of the code to see if this is a thing. But I'm just going to add this in. This is where the guesswork can come in. If it works, cool. If not, oh well. There we go. Look, it's done it. So main area top is just this little area where the button is wedged in. And we're saying just start drawing the window at the bottom of that area. And the reason the window height is still absolutely fine is because it factors in the window's Y position. It says the window height should be main area bottom, which I'm not sure what that is, minus where you start on the Y. So main area bottom maybe calculates if there is a help window. If the help window wasn't there, I wonder if the window would just stretch to the bottom because of this. This may be something you can play around with and see. So there's one thing. Now the window's not clipping through and we can see, even if this text went right to the end, you can still read it now. And the last thing is to try and get this help window back. Try and make it display something. So let's say, let's make another part here. We'll say description maybe, description. And we'll just copy this for each of them. 1, 2, then put in 3. A really great achieve. We're just going to copy this and then change the wording. A really super achieve. A really ultra achieve. We're so creative here. So creative. A really mega achieve. So how do we display this? It looks like the help window is expecting, says set help window item to an item. So let's check the help window. Window, help, here we are. So here's the set item, and it says you pass in an item and it will set the text. What is this doing? Set text, which means it runs this, and if the item exists, it will pass in an item's description. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. But what if we don't want to use this? Well, it does have a set text method, which just means you can pass in some text. So I think that's probably what we want here. Update help, we will do, is there something better than update help? Do we have access to the help window? That's what I want to know. Set help window, yeah, awesome. So we do set the help window. How do we access that on our in our window here? Let's check item list. What happens when it sets the item window? Okay, it doesn't seem to have anything here. So let's check the parent window. And for set help window. Here. So this underscore help window is how we access the help window from within our window. I guess maybe we could have guessed that just from how the help window looks in the scene, but that's fine. So yeah, update help. Instead of this, we want to set help window dot set text. You know what? Let's undo. So we have this item. Do we have access to the index of this window? Because that's what we need now. We want to say set the text of the help window equal to some kind of achievement data. So let's work on the achievement data for now. Const achieve data is equal to achievements, achieved data, and then we need some kind of index here. So let's have a look. We'll go item list. Is there an index? Item at, but we need to get, oh, this dot index is a function or a method that we can use. Nice. So down here, we can say, this is the index that we're on, grab the achievement data for that, and then we can update the description. Was achieved data dot description, and then we'll simply pass in the description into the text window. So this might work already. Let's have a look. Can't read property of description of undefined. So what's happening here? Achievements 178. Okay, okay. So it looks like index might not start off at an index we can use. It may be -1. If you think about how it draws to the screen, the first row is index 0. The second row would be index 1. But the way that the game handles, the way that RPG Maker handles making it look like nothing is selected is by making the index -1, which would then draw the cursor outside of the window, if that makes sense to you. So this might be something we don't have access to. So what we probably want to do is check if the achievement data is a thing or not. So we can just do that by saying is achieved data. So what this says is if the achievement data exists, then it will return true. But what we want to do is another early return. So we want to flip this and say if the achievement does not exist, return. But if the achievement data does exist, then it will progress on. And it will get the description and set the text of the help window. I hope the return early stuff is making sense. It's so handy. Okay, there we go. But it's still updating for this. So we need to add a little catch to check if it should be hidden or not. So yeah, that's cool. A really great achieve, a really super achieve, a really ultra achieve, a really mega achieve. So yeah, it's just this line again. So I guess we can copy this here and say we'll grab if they have the achievement or not, and then underneath we will check if the achieved data dot hidden is true, and if they don't have the achievement, we will return just the same as we did here. And yeah, I like to split this up because we keep it nice and simple and readable. We try and get the achievement data. If it doesn't exist, we'll just get out of the function, and then we check if it should be hidden or not. Yeah, so let's try this. Oh, index is not defined. I think I know what that is. Yeah, this. Yeah, we should be using this dot index, but the fact I've used this more than once, I would like to just say, let's make index equal to this index, and we'll just use index a couple of times here. You could probably just use this, but you know, I like catching values in some sort of variable rather than using like calling methods multiple times. Oh, interesting. So this sets the value of the window, but when we move down, it doesn't change the value of the window, which means instead of returning early, what we can do, I guess we still return early, but before we return, we can set the text of the window to nothing, and this should cover it. There we go. So again, the logic here is if the achievement is hidden and we have not unlocked it yet, we will set the help window text equal to an empty string, which is just nothing. It'll appear as nothing in the window. And then we return out of the function. We do not want to progress on and draw the description in the window. So pretty much that's it done. There's things you can add on. You can add icons. Maybe that could be a little thing you can challenge yourself with. Maybe add an icon to this and then have the icon displaying somehow. You can add a bit of flair by putting parameters in here, and then you can have maybe a parameter for what text should be displayed if it's hidden. Maybe you want something like that. There we go. So it looks like it's a hidden achievement, or you could write in there, just explicitly write hidden achievement so that the player knows what's going on. But you can turn this into a parameter just by looking at the other plugin we made. You can try and take this code and then adapt it so you can turn this question mark stuff into a parameter. Yeah, so have fun with it and keep tweaking things and see if you can get other just see if you can make things move in different ways. Maybe you want 2 columns or 3 columns. Try it out. This enabled, I'm not sure if we even use this anymore because we directly use if they have the achievement or not down here. So maybe we can just get rid of this. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be fine. And oh yeah, also just checking there, it does show the correct description once the achievement has been unlocked. Alright, let's not let this drag on too much longer. This was a fun video to make. It's probably quite long. I hope you learned a lot from it. And as usual, like and subscribe and all that if you're getting some use out of the videos. And I'll see you in the next one.